Hey everybody, it's Never. It is the middle of the night in Grizzly Hills, which is a really wonderful thing. Look how beautiful it is. And the better contrast with the darker nights is just really something. You can really see it in the ruins of Lordaeron. So the contest is officially over, and the winner of the Bronze Whelpling is right there. So congratulations. I'll be sending you a private message so that we can work out how to exchange the pet, and look forward to the next contest. But not so fast. Listen to that music. That's just the best. You just have to love Grizzly Hills and Howling Fjord. I could just hang out here and listen to the music all day long, but I got some stuff to do. So, the question that I chose that was the most interesting question was, if you had the chance to witness something in person, a moment in history or something that could happen in the future, what would you pick? And I thought, well, I may not have all that good of an answer for that. I think that's probably the question that would bring on the most thought or the most consideration out of the ones I got. And my answers for that, I had a couple. One would be to see either the hot death or the cold death of the universe, with the cold death seeing the last star go out and then leaving the entire universe in absolute darkness, or hot death seeing the last of everything there is collapsing down into a final singularity to do whatever it does next. I think that'd be pretty interesting. Another one that I thought of was to see the first time that the nearest thing we could consider to be a human would be ever used fire, actually consciously used it as a tool, not just accidentally. I think it'd be interesting to see the circumstances in which that happened and what the world was like. It might answer a lot of questions, but I think it would teach us something about ourselves. So that's my answer to what I consider to be the most interesting question of the bunch. But there are a bunch of other really good questions that I'd like to just go ahead and go over and answer. So if you're not interested in questions, then I'll see you in the next video. But if you are, even a little bit, then you might enjoy this wildlife scenery while we talk about questions. So the next question, my favorite pet as a whole, as far as design and abilities, that's a really tough one, but one that I've always really liked, and it's not original, it's not special, but I really like the Unborn Valkyr. I actually managed to snag another one of them, but the Unborn Valkyr is just an amazing looking pet. But beside that, the one that really means the most to me is probably this one, the Feline Familiar. And the reason for that is a little story I'll tell you. So my wife and I, we got a little kitten for us and the kids a couple years ago, or I guess about a year ago. And she was just this tiny, tiny little black kitten, about, you could make two fists, and she was smaller than that. So she was really, really young and really little, and they didn't really think that she would survive because of how small she was. And so we took her and did our best to try and help her and nurse her to health. But in the end, it was just a little too much for her, and she was just too small to live. And she ended up actually dying in my wife's arms during the night while she was trying to feed her every hour and all of that. So it was really emotional for everybody, and the kids, it was good for them because it taught them a little bit about death and what that means. But our little 2-year-old at the time was really sad about it, and we named the kitty Luna. And so what kind of cheered her up was we found this black cat in pet battles, and I said, do you want to see Luna? And so my daughter would sit on my lap, and she'd see this pet here and get really excited because it would remind her of the little kitty named Luna. And so this was the second pet I leveled to 25, and not only is it an amazingly good pet for just doing normal stuff, if you use Pounce and Stone Skin and Devour, you can do that math pretty easily, but it also has a lot of sentimental meaning for me. So that is one of my favorite pets. So the next one is, what is your favorite online interaction with other people that you have had? A couple of successes in my raiding guild back in the day were really high up there. The first time we downed KT in Nax 25 was a big one, and a couple of moments along the way with just doing that with people. Another one that stands out is the Persistent World role-playing days in Neverwinter Nights. I don't know if any of you were ever in a community called Snow Moon or Hearth, but I was there during its kind of heyday and really enjoyed that, even though I was horrible at RP back then. I think I've gotten quite a bit better, but that was very memorable and very fun. If a movie were made about your life, what would the title be? And this one I frankly have no idea. It could be anything. I really don't know. I wish I had a better answer for it, but I just have no idea what they would call it. Probably something clever and slightly arbitrary, but I can't think of anything. What would your suggestions be? If we were to call the show something other than Bad WoW Videos, what would we call it? So next one is, if you could select one person from history and have them truthfully answer one question, who would you select and what would be the question? I would ask the doctor what his name is. Actually, to seriously answer the question, it's tricky, but the geek in me wants to ask something of Nikola Tesla, like how would he have accomplished wireless power, or something along those lines, or for an English translation of Einstein's last words, because his last words he actually spoke in German to somebody. The only person in the room when he died didn't speak any German, so that was lost forever. It'd probably be something like that. What is your favorite memory from your video game history? My favorite memory is it's probably, there's this one time when my wife was still playing WoW. She's playing other games at the moment. There was this Brewfest. It was like the first or second Brewfest. It was maybe the second one, because we had the Steins, and both of us spontaneously got our characters into the Brewfest garb and dueled and had this fist fight with Brewfest Steins and started just shouting these horrible things at each other, which turned into this really great little laughing match. And it wasn't anything really spectacular or grandiose or anything, but it was just really memorable to me, because it was just a lot of fun to do that with her. If you picked a favorite period of time for WoW, what would it be? Not expansion-wise, but raid era-wise. Definitely Ulduar. I love the Ulduar raid, the lore and the mechanics of the fights, and the way that you built the key to go and do Algalon, and Algalon's room is probably the most gorgeous thing in the entire game. Ulduar is just wonderful, absolutely my favorite. As far as playing the raid content, it would have been Nax, but that's just because that's when I had the best time raiding with my guildies. Let's see. My favorite pet battle team is it's this one. Unborn Valkyr and Geyser Whirlpool, Howl, and Surge of Power. It's kind of your go-to thing for doing a lot of stuff, but I really love the interaction and how clever of a thing that team is, and how well it can blow up just about anything. So that's probably the one I use the most, and it's because of that and how clever it is, it's my favorite. So the next question: while you were first playing World of Warcraft, when did you decide that this was a game you wanted to spend a lot of time on? I don't know if there was one moment in particular that was that specific thing, but there were a lot of little moments that led up to it. One is the very first time I ever made a character and logged in, and if people are interested, I'll tell my entire character history sometime. It might be interesting to somebody, but I remember the camera flying in to show the starting area that I was in, and I saw characters running around, and then I noticed they had names over their heads, and that those were actual people playing the game right now. And that clicked in my head, and it started to make sense how amazing this was. So that was one. Another one was when I realized that you could jump and attack at the same time, and that you could attack things that were behind you by jumping, turning, attacking, and turning back before you land. Little things like that really made the game come alive to me. So the amalgamation of all of those things was what told me that this game was special and that I wanted to spend a lot of time with it. The other thing that told me I wanted to spend a lot of time with it is all the games I went away thinking, this is going to be the next WoW, and then they all fall apart. So I've learned that lesson a couple of times. And yes, I will do a video on how to set up Skinner like I have it. I'm going to do an updated UI video on some of the changes since 6.0 and a little more detail on how I got some of the effects that I use, like this swirly mist that changes here, stuff like that. This one question, I'm just going to read it because it's really kind of a work of art, but I have no idea how to make any sense of it. Has anyone really been far, even as decided to use, even go want to do, look more like? Yep, that's the question. So I have no idea. I think the answer is probably 42. What pet would you like to see implemented within World of Warcraft? Or bonus question, if you could create any pet and have it added to the game, what would it be? Okay, so the pet I'd like to see implemented is actually a group of pets. I want a pet version of Archivon and Emelon and Hugalon, just all of those Watcher guys from Northrend, and then Hugalon from Pandaria, obviously. I want all 5 of them as battle pets you can get that have abilities along with their theme. I think that'd be really cool to collect all of them, and they should drop off of those bosses with a moderate chance, maybe like 10%. But the bonus question, if I could create any pet and have it added to the game, easy. I would take Epicus Maximus, which is the undead guitar player riding the T-Rex, riding the shark with laser beams attached to its head. I would turn that into a pet. And so you'd have the abilities. You've got 3 ability slots with oh hey, look, let's kill this rare. 3 ability slots with 2 options each, and so each one of them would have an ability that goes along with what they do. So like the T-Rex would have like a roar that does the same as howl, or something that causes a bleed, and then the shark would have blood in the water and water jet or pump or something, or dive, and then the undead guitar player would have an ability called Spinal Tap, and I forget what I wanted Spinal Tap to do. It might have been like a chance to stun or something, and then his other ability would be Wicked Solo, which would like reduce the speed of the other team or something like that. So just a really well-rounded utility pet that is the coolest looking thing in the whole game, except for Algalon's room. So yeah, that's the pet that I would want implemented. This one was a real close contender for the winning question, but it's a good question, but wasn't quite what I was looking for. If Blizzard offered you to have your character become an NPC in WoW, and you can decide what he does and where he is, what would he do and where would he be located? I'm not sure. I'd probably spend a lot of time thinking about this, but off the top of my head, or with the short amount of time I've been thinking about it, it would be really cool to be down in Undercity somewhere, and maybe not even show up all the time, and if you happen to catch me when I spawn, I will sell you some rare pets for a pretty cheap price, but they'd be pets that are only available from me, and you never know which pets I'll have. So it'd be something kind of random like that. And if not pets, then toys, because I love the toy box and all the stuff that goes in it. So that's what I would do with my own NPC. Because having me go to Ashran and help people fight wouldn't really be that great, because I'm not really that good at it. How did you start playing WoW, and why did you choose the Horde? Okay, so I started playing WoW because a coworker of mine said, you really ought to try this game out. And so I did, and I actually played Alliance with him for a while. And then this was during vanilla, maybe a few months into the game. And then just got really busy with life, and that coworker moved on to another position, and so didn't really have anyone to play with. So I took a break for about 6 or 7 months. It was longer than that, more like 9. And then another buddy of mine said, hey, have you tried this game? And I said, well, yeah, I've tried that. And he's like, come play with us. And they were Horde, so I switched over to Horde, and I have been ever since. And that's, I didn't really have any idea how the game worked when I was first playing, but the second time I started up, I started to actually figure out what I was doing. If you're wondering what I'm doing here, this is one of the spots where the Unborn Valkyr spawns, and so I'm just kind of hanging out here in case one of them pops up and I can get a third one, because they're amazing. Okay. Was there ever a moment in WoW that made you say, I love this game? If so, what was it? Oh, there's been dozens of them. The first time I caught an Unborn Valkyr was a good one. It's just, there's so many things that happen in this game that are rewarding and a lot of fun. There's things that happen that, are kind of sucky, like some of the design philosophy they've changed on gear is the problem is, especially in Mists of Pandaria, but even right before that, you get a new piece of gear, you can't even really use it because you're not sure if that gear without its gems and enchants and everything is actually better than the gear you have now. And so getting gear has become less fun. But even though that is the case, there's still, downing a boss for the first time is just really neat. Or the first time you solo something that's difficult. So it's moments all the time where it reminds me that I really do love playing this game. And it's brought me a lot of happiness in my recreational life. And it can't take the place of anything that really matters, like your family or even other things that you spend to do for fun. But as far as the game goes, for something purely recreational, it's wonderful. And I can't even say it's purely recreational, because you learn, if you lead a raid, you learn some pretty amazing leadership and organizational skills just from doing that. So it's really something. How did you get the name Never? I honestly don't remember. It was just one of those things where I think I just liked the sound of the word, and so I just tagged it onto. I used to have the word sage in. So actually, my character name, since there's no way on earth I'll be able to get actually the name Never, because I'm way too late to the party for that. Because I wasn't, day one. So Neversage, and I would put sage at the end of a lot of my character names. So there was like. Storm Sage and Blade Sage and stuff like that. So I just liked the word Never and the way it sounded, and it just kind of stuck as a nickname in game for people to call me. They identified with it. So that's how I got the name as best I can remember. Why are orcs smelly? I don't know, but I think maybe it's the stink of all that fel magic that's on them. But, I mean, there's other orcs that don't have fel magic stuck in them that are smelly too, so who knows? Maybe they just come that way. What part of WoW's lore do you consider to be the best? Easily the Old Gods. I think that if you watch the video lore walking that I did, I go over one of my theories for the lore of WoW, and that kind of explains what's really interesting to me about it. I like the bigger overall story with the Old Gods, and make no mistake, the biggest overall story is about them, and it's not about the Horde and the Alliance. That's just what is here and present at the moment. how do you loot everything so fast? So this question really surprised me. So I'm gonna kill something and then loot it. So I kill stuff, and then I just right-click it, and I have auto loot on. But I go up and habitually will put my cursor over there. And if it isn't that, then where is another wolf? If it's not that, sometimes I loot things from way over here, and that is with this fantastic little device I have called a looterang. It's an engineering item. You have to be an engineer to use it, but there's a macro that you can do with it right here. So use at mouse over dead harm looterang, target last target, and then use it again. So what that'll do is that will either throw it at your mouse over target, or it'll just throw it at your last target, because when something dies it automatically deselects your target. So you hit that and it'll loot the last thing that you had targeted up to 40 yards away with the looterang. It's wonderful. So let's see, last question. How do you feel about the coming expansion when compared to how you felt before previous ones? Is there anything specifically that makes you more or less excited for it? So the expansions that I was around for, I was taking that break that I mentioned in my playtime right when Burning Crusade came out. So Burning Crusade hadn't even been announced when I stopped playing for just the lack of time, and it was already kind of, Kara was getting old by the time I started again. So I didn't really have any of the lead up to that. The lead up to Wrath of the Lich King was really exciting, and I loved that. Cataclysm, a little less. Miss a Pandaria, even less than that. But this one I'd say it's up there with Wrath of the Lich King. I think Warlords of Draenor is going to usher in a sort of new golden era for WoW. They're taking the game back in a lot of the direction that they've gotten away from over the last little while in a very good way. So I'm excited for that. I think it's going to be wonderful. My biggest concerns are how the rest of the game is going to be as a result of the stat squitch, which I think was necessary and I fully support, but I don't know if the way that it was done is the best way it could have been done. And there may be technical limitations that mandate the way they did it, but I've got my own ideas for how that could have been done, or still could be done in the future, a little bit better. And that's a whole nother video, because this video's already gone on long enough. So those are the questions that I got. Thank you very much for the questions and for your support, and congratulations again to the winner. There will be another contest very soon. As of the time of this video, we're just over 580 subscribers, and I'd like to do another giveaway when we get to 750. So get your friends and get them together. The next giveaway is going to be even bigger and pretty amazing, so you won't want to miss it. Thank you again, everybody, for your support. I really appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun to do this, and I hope it continues to work well. Please like the video and share and subscribe. And okay, thanks, bye.